Ladies and gentlemen, the journey for focus, clarity, and mental mastery is about to begin. Live from WSIC Studios on the shores of Lake Norman, the show that gives you the tools to think sharper, sleep deeper, manage stress, and unlock your full mental potential. This is Your Brain Matters. And now, with over 30 years of brain science, more than 70,000 brain analyses, bringing neuroscience to everyday life, here's your host, Dr. Tim Royer.
Welcome. Man, that guy's voice is just so like radio.
The radio voice.
Yes.
Do you try to do that?
Your brain matters.
You try to be smooth and low.
Smooth. Like, I don't think I can do that. I'm like high and the guy needs some testosterone or something.
Oh, man. Typically when I listen to our thing, I re-listen to the radio because I like it so much. But anyway, typically when I listen, I think, is my voice always sound nasally like that?
You don't sound nasally. Of course, I've been listening to you for 38 years.
We don't know.
We have
don't
no
know.
idea.
But thanks for listening.
Yes.
However our voices come across. We're glad we have
we are so excited.
listeners.
Yeah. We're so excited that you guys are here because, you know, out of all the different things in your life, and it's so easy to get distracted on stuff, the most important thing is your brain, is that your brain matters. It matters to you. It matters to your employer. It matters to your spouse, to your kids, to your future, to everything, to your health.
Even your dog.
Yeah. Cooper.
I mean, our dog, if our brains weren't working well, his life would not be the same.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think of two instances. One when he got the lump on his leg, and the dog and the vet said, "We want to take off his leg," and we're like, "Wait a minute, time out."
We put our brains on that thing.
Yeah, and we figured out that he didn't need his leg taken off.
Yeah,
and it's 2 years later, and his leg is perfectly fine.
Seriously, true story.
True.
I mean, we went to 2 vets. We even got a second opinion, and we had a surgery scheduled.
Ugh.
For this unknown mass on his leg. And now, in retrospect, I honestly think, well, the reason we didn't go through with it is we gave him a bunch of supplements for anti-inflammation. And over the course of the 3 weeks while we waited for surgery, it went down and down and down. And it was almost nothing like 3 days before the surgery. So we called and canceled. And basically the two of us looked at each other and said, we're never going to either of those vets again. Because our dog's leg would have been hanging on a wall somewhere. But anyway, we have a 4-legged dog. Nothing against 3-legged dogs.
No, there's
That's
nothing.
amazing
We love 3-legged dogs.
when needed. But we literally had to use our brains to get through that situation. And a little bit of money as well.
Yes. Yeah, and then we just recently, we had this thing where Amy figured out that he had Cushing's disease, and that was
I've got to credit my daughter who looked on, used all of the smart AI things that are available and put together. She's also a PA, and she's a really good one.
I was cheating a little bit, yeah.
So she used her medical brain, and she kind of came up with this. Hey, I wonder if he has Cushing's, which then I used my energy and my brain to chase that down for a year, and just last month we started treating him for this thing that he had, but we had to jump through 75 hoops. Yeah,
and we figured out his hair's growing back. He looks so much better, but it is interesting. Like, we just assume that you have like a specialist that tells you what to do, and not that they don't, but you can't just blindly assume things. You need to ask questions.
Yeah.
Like I always tell people at my lectures, ask your doctor, what's the exit strategy for this medicine that you're putting my 6-year-old on?
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't just walk blindly through. You'll be surprised sometimes how uninformed the physician actually might be about, like, well, there isn't any other option. Well, there are options that are just as evidence-based that you want to explore. So you got to use your brain, right?
I think we didn't really intend to come in and talk about our dog, but it is, the truth is, if you and I hadn't really actually used our brain, but also keep our brains as sharp as we know how to, we wouldn't have had the energy and the wherewithal to chase down those kind of things for our dog. And I would have just signed the papers and moved forward. So it is kind of a good example of that we should ask those questions like you said, and we have so many resources for information.
Oh, it's crazy.
It's too many.
Yeah.
And to be fair to the docs and the vets out there, I mean, no one can know everything about everything. So you're looking for somebody who aligns with the way you think and the way you believe, and then you want to work together in whatever it is that the venture is, whether it's your dog or your own health or, whatever that is. But Doc, we always talk about these kind of concepts during our show.
Yeah.
And Doc was out speaking this week, and whenever he comes home, I always get the lowdown. I usually text him how'd it go, and then I'll get the short answer. But then when he comes home, like I want the full lowdown on what went down. So it usually happens like if we're out walking, because we do like to walk a lot with the dog, and so that gives us time to catch up when he's been away. So Doc was talking to me on the way on our walk and telling me about this lecture that he just did, and it's good stuff. It's a good concept. So we immediately, as we were finishing up the conversation, said, like, this is a good radio topic because we cover a lot of like science and topics. We try to keep it interesting, try to keep it moving. We have some guests on the show, but overall, we're always just trying to move people forward in understanding their brain matters, right?
Right.
To us, it's like so obvious. But Doc had a lecture in which like a great group of people, and the responses he got, it's just really, really good stuff, and reminds us that we're not done trying to tell people their brain matters, because Doc had a room full of people that really, really were impacted by finding a little bit more out about their brain mattering.
Yes.
Right?
So I went to New Orleans 2 days ago, came back, and had the opportunity to speak to about 60 athletic directors of private schools. So these, range across the spectrum, but some pretty high-end schools where these athletic directors are working. And I came in with my overall lecture that I typically do on the autonomic nervous system, how that works, sympathetic, parasympathetic, the brain, the vagus nerve, breathing, heart. But I came into it really with a perspective of, we didn't really want to just work for like the schools. This was for these individuals, that we wanted to provide something that was beneficial to them and them to think through, right?
Okay.
And so I wanted to work on this challenge to them to look at themselves. And the concept that we're going to unpack as we go through the radio show today is this concept of what I said to them: I love to win.
Oh, there's an understatement.
I said, I just love to win, because here I've got all these athletic directors. They're managing all these teams.
Life
right?
is about winning.
And they're watching the scoreboard left and right.
Yep.
And they're watching the wins and the losses, and maybe even their career is based on, their success is based on those. So I said, I love to win, and that's how we started. And we're going to talk more about that as we go through the show.
Hey, welcome back. We are talking about winning.
Winning, I love it.
Doc finished our last segment saying he likes to win. Ladies and gentlemen, Doc loves to win. We actually have some rules at our house because we can't even really play a family game.
Oh, no, not certain family games
Okay. Without having rules in place. Doc really likes to win. We actually have had tears over the years.
Yeah, we have.
Yes, hon, babe.
Yeah, that's true.
And
yes, I got to be honest.
Guys, these could be physical games, mental games, whatever it is. He likes to win. honestly, we one time were playing capture the flag with our kids, and I literally saw my husband tackle one of our children to the ground. I was
Okay.
like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa, what's happening right now? And, the issue was that the flag was about to be captured.
Absolutely. That's what the issue was, right? Are you kidding me?
Anyway, so yeah, this is definitely a recurring conversation in a house. Like, is that okay to want to win that bad? Like, that's a little psycho, right? But we've lived through it, and we learned to make some boundaries. In fact, we're going to be with our family this coming week, and we're probably going to play some games. And
there's certain games we won't play. I know we won't play certain games.
Okay, so go back, Doc. You're lecturing this group of athletic directors whose life revolves around winning. In fact, some of their jobs revolve around winning, right? And so you start your lecture with something like, "Who likes to win?"
Yeah, I said I love to win. Who in the room likes to win? Every single hand in the room went up, which you ask questions at lectures and sometimes you get a little bit here and there, but it was like everybody shot their hand up. And I said, does anybody like to lose? And one guy kind of raised his hand, but he was joking around. I said, you like to lose because you learn from losing, blah, 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 blah. But come on, let's talk about, winning. And I told him back in when the kids were little, so we had these 4 kids, right? And they all played ASO.
Yeah.
And I was the coach of the ASO. And I'm probably at 10 years. We did. How many years did we do ASO?
And people wanted to be on your team.
Yeah, the parents.
They would request.
But, I mean, a certain type of parent would. Because I would tell these kids, man, what is wrong with me? I'm a child psychologist. I tell these kids, I'd like,
it's concerning.
We're here to have fun.
Yeah,
everybody.
We're not even keeping score.
No, we're not keeping score. We're here to have fun. We're going to get our treat at the end of the game. But do you know what, guys? Winning is fun. And sometimes some parents would scold me for that, I guess. But it was funny at the end of the day, like how many, of course, there's more than winning on the scoreboard.
Yes,
right? Like,
right.
For me, I'm using winning, yes, the score. But in that case, winning is getting some of these kids just out on the field.
Yes.
Not staring up in the clouds when the ball's coming by,
Yes.
and actually following the ball and not ending up just being someplace else picking daisies. So there's winning in all types of forms. But I am one of those people. I grew up, my father was a football coach,
right?
And first 13 years of his marriage to my mother, they moved 12 times as he worked his way up the ladder and ended up at the Naval Academy and then started the football program at Liberty University. But I've been around sports and that my whole life. So I do have built into me that desire to win, right?
Oh, right. Not just one set of genes. Your mom.
Yeah, my mom's super
incredible
was
athlete.
Super competitive. Yeah.
In a day when the women weren't really doing the sports, your mom was a very good athlete.
So I've been around that a lot. And I'm back to this group, right? And I said, I want to talk about winning, and this is what I want to present to you guys today. But not just how we traditionally think of sports, but what do we really want to win at? Like, what do we want to win at in life? And so it was very interesting because I asked the group, and this is why I thought it was fascinating to talk about it today. I said, what do you want to win at? Mm-hmm. Right?
Yep.
None of us really purposely decides to lose. Like, hey, I want to lose, right? We want to win. And the first hand stood up was this female athletic director. She raised her hand. She goes, I want to win at being a mom.
Oh.
Right?
Right.
Like this whole room of athletic directors. She was the minority in there. Maybe there were 3 women athletic directors, but the rest, all these men, everybody in there. And I thought, okay, she's going to raise her hand. I want to win with my women's sports team or something. It's like, I want to win at being a mom. Okay. And the whole room kind of got quiet a little bit, and the seriousness of the room went up. It was really, really interesting. And I'm waiting for, we want to win the state championship is the next one. And somebody else raised their hand, and they said, I want to win at aging. Oh. Okay. That's interesting, right? Yeah. So you're thinking how am I going to age? Am I going to age well or am I not going to age well? Mm-hmm. And putting a W or an L on that was a very interesting concept.
Yeah.
And then another person, I mean, nobody's talking sports. Next one was, I want to win at my health.
Okay.
I want to win at my relationship with my wife. I want to win at my relationship with God.
Wow. Were you expecting this?
I know. It was just nuts.
It's a curveball.
Yeah, they're all just like, they're coming up with all these things in life that when you think about your life, you're not like just this robot that does one thing.
Yeah.
You know, like I was in one of these automated cars recently, and that car, its job is to drive, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we don't just do like one thing. Our life, what makes our life beautiful is it's just so expansive.
Yeah.
Particularly relationships.
Yeah.
You know, relationships. You know, we want to win at being a sibling. We want to win at being a child to our parent. We want to win as parents. We want to win as grandparents. We want to win as friends, as colleagues.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
we
don't purposely want to lose.
Yeah.
I mean, so I really want you to challenge you guys to think of, like, what is it that you want to win at? And I'm going to ask Amy. She did not know I was going to ask this question. But what do you want to win at, Amy?
Man.
What are some things?
You know, I hate to say it because you just said it, but relationships, because I initially like to win at, you know, like I got this and that done. I did it
Which
well.
you do, yeah.
You know, that's something that brings me a lot of satisfaction, is checking boxes, being organized, da-da-da. But I do recognize the older I get that the thing I really want to win at is that I would be good at relationships. So like with my mom and dad.
Yes.
And that with them dying recently, I really love looking back at that and feeling like that was a win.
Yes.
Like the time and effort that I was allowed to put into their last years was so relational and so powerful in my life. Like that was a win. So I can say that. But then as soon as I switched gears from caring for my aging parents, it's my grandkids, you know, and how that relationship with those tiny little eyes that look up at you and they smile and they react and stuff is like, how do you build that? They're just tiny little people. Like they aren't checking to see if I, you know, called them 3 times this week or if I, you know, bought them a present or whatever. They just look at you when you walk in the room. And how do you build that relationship with that little developing brain? So it's
Amelia's not like putting a like on your Instagram or, you know, if going to your Facebook and your friend, which, you know, isn't so funny when you see these relationships with these little people and you kind of compare what we're doing as big people.
Yeah. It's a joke, right?
It is a joke because it's so deep and you see the longing in their eyes, the relationship. And it's sad to think that sometime in the next few years, they'll get introduced to social media and they'll think that that's a relationship.
Yeah.
That is not a relationship.
Yeah. And I'm finding something else interesting that I didn't anticipate was the relationship I'm building with these babies is building my relationship with their parents.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
And I'm thinking, all the ways you think you're going to try to be friends or be part of your adult child's life. And all of a sudden it's all switched. It's this little person that's their little person. And how if I'm invested in that and I have a relationship with that little person, it automatically develops my relationship with my kid, which is their parent.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. But relationship, because for me, I have to slow down and give time to that.
Yes.
So that is, that's where the win is.
Yeah, I like the phrase, you know, are you a human doing or are you a human being?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And we get so stuck in doing.
Yep.
I did, I do. I went to this school. I did this job.
Yep.
You know, and like, but who are you?
Yeah.
You know, are you winning at being?
Yeah.
And the big part of being is being present. Are you present with people, right? Or are you, I'm checking that box, but I've got 6 other boxes going on in my head and I'm not really there. And if you're really honest with yourself, the people that have changed your life the most, that have been those influencers in your life, not influencers on social media, true influencers in your life are people that were present and they were human beings with you, right?
Yes.
They walked through that with you.
Yeah.
And I really think you mentioned that winning with your parents because I can still remember a few weeks ago when we drove back from Michigan.
Yep.
And we both kind of looked at each other and we said, we did that well.
Yeah.
You know, it was 3 to 4 years of intensive work. Many times I wanted to throw in the towel, but we worked together, we communicated, and the sense of accomplishment as we were pulling out, and both parents have passed, but we reflected on the last 4 years. I mean, it was like winning the state championship.
Yeah.
I mean, it really was like, wow, we did it well, right? Now, we don't do everything well.
No,
I'm not
but
saying
that was a win. Like, you
right?
got to stop and recognize that. And we couldn't have done it without our brain.
Right.
Right?
So as we go into the next section, this is where we're going to interface. How do we win? And how do we be successful in all of these different areas that we're talking about?
Hey, welcome back. We are talking with Doc about a recent lecture he gave. And he's asking the audience, where do you want to win? What do you want to win? We all love to win.
Yeah.
So he's shared with us all these cool answers that people gave. And I'm kind of laughing. I'm like, did you think I better readjust my
Yes,
presentation because you thought it was going to be the state championship or whatever?
Yeah.
But no, that's not true. But where did you go with it?
Yeah. So I went back to this concept that I've used for a while, that winning in these different things, and let's throw a few out there. Okay. Health.
Yes.
Taking care of your body through exercise, winning, we're watching those steps to hit a certain goal, right?
Yep.
Relationships, finances.
Oh, yeah.
Just all these different things, right, that we're winning. We're trying to win at, but what it is, it's like this prize. It's like this trophy that you're trying to get. Like when we're talking about with your parents, we set our eyes on this prize and said, this is what we want it to look like for them. And so we had that prize, but in order to get to that prize, we had to have a plan. Yeah. There's a great quote by Ronald Reagan at the 1984 Olympics.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, in Los Angeles, where he said to the Olympic athletes, he said, you're here today not just because you had the will to win. It was like you didn't want to everybody wants to win, right? And you have the desire to win, right? But you're here because you had the will to prepare to win, right? Like, hey, I would love to win the high jump. Right. And that would be, I could be super motivated and I'd love to, but if I'm not preparing to do that, I'm never going to get that. I could love to be a great parent. No parent out there says, I want to be an awful parent. Nobody says that. We all have a desire to be a good parent, but what are we doing to prepare to be a good parent?
Okay.
Right.
Yep.
Who wants to be obese? Okay.
Right.
Like nobody says, I purposely want to be obese. I just really would like to be obese. Right. They have a desire. That person might say, I want to be healthy.
Yeah.
Right. The desire isn't it. It's the preparing to do that. So you have this prize, you have this plan. Okay. But then what connects that is there's this processor.
Oh, okay.
It's the brain. Yep. So in relation to this group, these are all athletic directors, probably were coaches and became athletic directors, and they all had a game plan, right? Like we do a lot of work with the 49ers. I work with Kyle Shanahan for 15 years. I mean, the guy is a game planner. Yeah. And he's trying to win the ultimate prize of the Super Bowl, and he's been there a few times. He hasn't got that yet. But his plan is probably one of the best plans that exist. The prize, a lot of people want it. But what he's dealing with is these players that have these processors. And is their processor strong enough, resilient enough? Does it have enough capacity to implement the plan? Okay. Does that make sense?
It does. Yep.
So when we look at this preparation to win, not just the desire to win, but the preparation to win, we have to look at, well, what is my processor doing? So at this lecture, the first thing I pull up is 5 different electrical signals going through the body.
Okay.
Like, it's really pretty amazing. The first thing I have up there.
Something you measured.
Yeah, something I measured that
Okay.
we all have inside of us.
Okay.
And the first one is a signal of somebody's breathing. That's part of your processor is oxygen, right? And you watch this, it just continuously playing is this graph of somebody breathing. And I mentioned that we breathe 600 million breaths in our lifetime, right? But not every breath is created equal, and we need to learn to breathe correctly so the processor will work correctly, right? And then the next signal I have is a ECG, a heart, EKG.
Yeah.
And you see the R to R interval, and we talk about all the beats in the heart, and that beats are what drive how your engine works, how your body works, but they can beat in ways that are negative for you or positive for you. We're going to do close to 3 billion heartbeats in our lifetime.
Wow.
And what are those beats like, right? And then the next one I show is a electrical signal of the processor of how our muscles work. And we can see that when the muscles are relaxed, the signal's very, the amplitude's very shallow, but all of a sudden they flex and this huge amplitude of electrical current, right? And how those muscles work in a lot of different things control my movements and my performance. Like if I'm holding a golf club and I'm gripping too tight with those muscles, the electrical current, that will affect my performance.
Yeah.
Then the next signal I have is an EEG, which is the electrical current running through the brain. These are amazing, these signals. 24/7, time I'm born until the time I die. I process this electrical signal going through me. And then the last one is the signal coming from the vagus nerve. So we're watching the electrical signal. These things are moving constantly, even in the last few seconds while I'm talking. They're all moving inside of me, they're moving inside of Amy, and they're moving inside of you. And how those things, like an orchestra, play together, whether it sounds good together or it sounds like a real mess, determines the outcome of my plan.
Oh my word. That is so good. And I have to say a word.
Go ahead, say it.
Oh, it's a good word, everybody. Cacophony.
See, I wanted to try to say that word, but it was like, it's so difficult that
you don't get a lot of chances to say cacophony. So the symphony is when everything that you're talking about is going together. It's like a beautiful symphony, right?
So the word symphony, see, this is how bad I am at the human language.
Oh.
The word symphony isn't just a bunch of people symphony isn't actually it's all coming together.
Yeah,
Symphony.
I think you could find the Latin origin. I think the phony part of it is sound.
Okay.
Phonics.
Yeah, okay.
But cacophony is like when you go to a concert for the symphony, when they're tuning up.
Oh, yeah.
Everything. And you're just like having a conversation before the concert and your ears are just like, I think sometimes they might do that so that you're primed with this awful sound, and then all of a sudden the symphony comes.
Isn't it so beautiful? Like when it goes from all that tuning, and then all of a sudden he raises the
taps
the baton
on the stand
and taps and then it just flows together, and it's not just one thing.
No,
it's this resonance of all of these things being in a resonant frequency that is just so beautiful and has rhythm to it. You see, you have all the instruments inside of you that are playing all these electrical signals in the processor, but are they a symphony or a cacophony?
Yeah, very good. So when you were talking to this group, so I'm imagining you've told them about the prize. So some of them identified the prize.
What that is, might be.
And then they're all kind of high-level thinkers. So they would naturally say, I need a plan, right? But when you just talked about all the things that have to do with the processor, I'm thinking they probably were jaw-dropped, because even being like an athletic director and not realizing what breathing can do and what heart is doing. Like, these people have been educated
Right.
about the human body. They understand heart rate variability from an athlete's performance standpoint. But I bet you they have never thought about, I have a plan, I have a prize, but there's 7 things he just mentioned that I have no idea could be measured and could help me get to my prize.
Exactly. And a lot of them, it was so interesting how many came up and said, I'm a mess. Basically, they were saying, I'm a cacophony, right? And I need to get this thing reset because the power in your autonomic nervous system inside of you with all these different systems and how they work, the power is massive. And what we talked about is not just a pill. It's not just taking a bunch of caffeine. It's bringing the symphony together, getting all of these systems to start to work together to win the prize.
We are having a great conversation. Doc, you laid out a really cool illustration for us that we want to win. So we have a prize that we're shooting for.
Yes.
We have a plan how to get to the prize. But here was the clincher of the last section was you have to use a processor to do your plan to get to your prize.
Right.
Okay. So the thing that is more dynamic, the prize is not necessarily dynamic, nor is the plan, but this processor is dynamic.
It moves.
It's changing, and it has all these different features to it. So I think you have a really good illustration to help us understand this with a human experience.
I think I want to kind of get back to this concept of we can get very narrow in what we're saying that we're winning at. And I was working with this executive one time a while back. We were a lot of executives, but this one in particular, I thought it was interesting because we were looking at these different processing pieces with this person.
Yep.
And I said, hey, you have an area where you're more vulnerable and your focus isn't good and you're not in the zone. And, he didn't like that.
Yes.
And he was like, but I feel like I am. And I said, well, what do you feel like you are? Well, when I'm working, when I am working, there's nobody that outworks me.
Okay.
Right. So he was winning. I said, so where would you put yourself when you're on a task and working compared to your peers? He said, I'd put myself 100.
Yeah.
I'd be the top of my peers. And I'm like, well, that's a win.
Yeah.
That's great. I said, how about with what he didn't like this? How about with the relationship with your wife?
Okay. Wow.
And he's like,
you threw that out there.
Yes. And he was like,
Okay.
well, that's different. I said, well, no, it's not because you're a whole person. You're a human being.
Yeah.
Your job is just one thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Please do not get that mistaken that is where all your worth is coming from.
Right.
And he said, well, if I was honest, 0 to 100, my relationship with my wife, about a 35.
Okay.
I'm like, okay.
All right.
So let's put that on. So I'm writing this on the board. I said, gave me a 100 and you're all upset because you're not hitting the mark, on my testing.
Yeah.
But you're 35 and the wife. I said, how do you feel like you're doing with your health and your wellness? Well, I used to set a mark for 10,000 that I'd get my goal, but I knew I wasn't hitting that, so I just moved the mark to 4,000. So 4,000 steps. He said,
no.
He said, instead, I couldn't hit the 10,000, so I moved it to 4,000 steps.
So you still get your star every day.
So I got my star. And so I guess I'm doing good on my steps. I'm like, you just moved the goal line. What are you talking about? So I said, no, really, realistically, where do you think you are in your fitness? About a 30.
Oh, okay.
Where are you with your kids? 50. Where are you with your spiritual side of your life? 25.
Okay.
So I start adding these things up and I'm like, you're equaling about a 35. And what I'm picking up in my processor readings of you is you're not 100%.
Yeah.
You're coming in at this range and you're upset that I'm telling you that your brain and body is showing me that you're not fully there. Does that make sense?
Oh, that makes so much sense. And I love the way that you unpacked that with him, because I feel like it actually brought value to him in those other areas of his life that he was kind of accidentally devaluing, because in the pursuit of the prize, he was kind of letting those things go. But so you were really bringing to the point that it's the average of all those numbers that really matter. But so like if he's 100 on one thing and 30 on all the others, that's not a great average out.
No.
He wouldn't accept that actually if he did the math. But then when you're talking about what you're seeing on his numbers in the assessing, that reminds me back again of the symphony. So he has like a number of instruments that are in tune and playing well together, but then he has like one or two that are terrible.
Yes.
And so then we don't want to go to symphony to hear him play because it's going to be terrible.
Yes, and it was very interesting at this lecture. I had somebody raise their hand and said, "Well, my aura ring tells me that I'm doing pretty good today."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Okay, so that's a proxy of your heart rate, and you got one little metric."
Yeah.
That's telling you the good day. And then he says, but the problem for me is the days that my aura ring says I'm not that good. He goes, all day long then I don't feel like I'm that good.
Do you think the manufacturers know that?
Yeah. I said, built into your aura ring is the capacity to adjust based on what your norm is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
But is that really an absolute norm of where you should be? And it's only one little section.
Yep.
We need to look at the whole section. So when we look at our program, we start with breathing is the number one thing, okay? So that has to be built. If you don't have that, you can't really move on. 85% of our energy is coming from breathing. So breathing rate needs to be 6 breaths a minute to hit that resonant frequency. The consistency of the breath to breath to breath, needs to be less than 0.4, right? Like, if you haven't achieved less variation, okay? So now we've widened our capacity base, okay? Prior to that, I'm very narrow. But once I fix the oxygen, I've widened the capacity, or what we call the fulcrum, right? Then from there, the next instrument in our symphony is the heart. What's the heart doing? And so then we look at the heart and we say, when I can read the frequencies of the heart, if the breathing is correct, it triggers actually frequencies in the heart to go into this ideal, resilient, resonant state of what's called coherence. And we want to get that up to 90. And there will be a little bit of stress, maybe 5%, a little bit of fatigue, but ideally we want to get to 90. So when I have that at 90, the heart, now I've developed an instrument that is tuned just like the breathing. So now I've widened the fulcrum, or the ability, the capacity to win is wider, right? Then let's go another layer down. Now I'm getting to the vagus nerve. And so in the vagus nerve, and you'll learn this from other podcasts and stuff, but we need the parasympathetic index to be greater than 0 for there to be resiliency in the vagus nerve. And we need the sympathetic index to be less than 0. If it is not doing that, your body and all the different organs are not working correctly. So we have to strengthen that layer. So now the fulcrum, or the base, is getting even wider. It's changing. These things are changing my potential to win with a good game plan. Then the last factor in is the brain. So when we look at the brain, we need a certain amount of these slow frequencies that allow our brain to recover. If those atrophy over time, it affects our memory functioning, affects our sleep, and our overall cognitive functioning. And the ideal number for those theta waves, those recovery waves, need to be 2.7 to the rest of the brain waves. If they're too high, I have an attention disorder. If they're too low, I've got potential memory issues. So I've got to align the center, the left, and the right, all up in that. And then the last section of that in the brain is measuring the brain waves related to stress. Okay? And those brain waves need to be less than 0.6, ideally 0.4. So now I've got this perfect balance in the brain, in the EEG, the electrical signal, okay, that is perfectly balanced with a good amount of recovery and less stress. And now I've really fixed the widest section that I can make of the fulcrum. So I've got the brain, vagus nerve, heart, breathing. It's a totally different processor. Now it's a symphony.
Yeah.
Right? If any one of those layers is off, it's like an instrument that's out of tune.
Yeah.
Right? And it affects the processor's ability to implement the plan to gain the prize.
Yep. Yeah. That all makes so much sense. And it does remind me of a book that we could recommend to the audience, not one that we've written, but remember the book, The Symphony
In the Brain. Yes.
So now that I think about it, we didn't come up with the word symphony on our own.
But I don't think you think they used the word cacophony in there.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
So we might have that
We'll take that one.
Yeah.
Take
But look for that book if you want to understand a little bit more about what Doc's talking about when he says these different frequencies.
Yes.
Because when you see what the origin of everything we've learned and how we practice comes from all these other scientists. And when you read about it, and it's a really well-written book, Symphony in the Brain,
Yeah.
you would understand your own brain. You would literally finish the book and say, my brain matters.
Yes.
Like it's that good. So that's a great read outside of all of our reads.
Yeah, I think of I know we talk a lot about sports, but think of those moments that team just had an unbelievable year, a run to the playoffs. They blow through the playoffs and they get into the championship, right? And the championship happens, and then right at some crucial moment, a mistake happens, right? And they lose.
Yeah.
We've seen it.
Been there.
Right? We've
Been
seen
there,
it.
seen it.
Yeah, experienced it, right?
It's the most painful thing.
It wasn't about the plan.
No.
It wasn't about the prize. If you measured some aspect of one of these things that we talked about, I'm going to say it's probably the stress brainwaves in the brain, taking off prematurely, not enough recovery, and then the person makes a dumb mistake. You know, the runner that thinks they've won the race, they look to their left instead of staying focused, and the person passes them on the right.
Right.
And they don't win.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
It's all about these processors, this processor being in a symphony. And the amazing thing is we can measure this.
Yeah.
We can measure. It's not like you're just like, oh, I don't know, maybe it's a good day or bad day. We can literally measure that, and we can get that all tuned up perfectly. Isn't that awesome?
That is incredible.
Yes, your brain matters. Let's grow.